Let's talk about block states and block state properties. If you want to go deeper, the 26.x modding courses are linked down below. 30 plus hours covering complex block entities with fluid and energy handling, custom mobs, custom networking, and even custom biomes and dimensions. Everything you need for 26.x all in one place, linked down below in the description. Alright, we find ourselves back in IntelliJ once more, and in this tutorial we're not only going to be talking about block states, but also block state properties and implementing basically my favorite block to illustrate the point over here, which is a custom lamp block. Now, before we do anything though, let's jump into Minecraft to get a foundational understanding of what a block state is, compared to, let's say, a block right here. Right, so this knowledge that I'm going to sort of share with you here is going to be implicit. You will immediately understand it, or rather you will say, yeah, this is obvious. Why are you telling me this? Because I want to make this implicit knowledge explicit. Idea is as follows. If I have 3 different redstone lamps over here, those are individual lamps. They have nothing to do with each other, even though they're all redstone lamps, right? And if I were to turn this one on, the other 2 stay off. Once again, you're going to say, yeah, Kaupenjoe, that's like I said, we know about this. That's fair enough. But how can we explain this if we were to go into the blocks class? So let's say we press shift twice, we go into the blocks class over here in world level block right here, and we search for the redstone lamp over here. What we're going to find is that not only does only one of these fields exist, so there's one singular public static final block redstone lamp, the redstone lamp block class gets created exactly freaking once right here in the blocks. That's it. So how does that make any sense? And how does it then make sense that these are individual instances? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it actually does, because these are not blocks. When they are inside of the world, they are what's called a block state. And a block state is an instance of a particular block. So, and this is an abstraction. This is not 100% how it works, but you can think of it like that. You can think of the block class as the block type, quote unquote. So a block state has a particular type. In this case, this is a redstone lamp type, and this is a lever type, and this is the fluorite type. Once again, this is not 100% accurate if I'm saying block type, but hopefully it's you can sort of understand the point that I'm trying to make. Basically, the block state has a particular block that it is associated with, and there we go. And now, because the blocks themselves can't save data individually for each individual block state, we have something called a block state property, and that is very, very interesting indeed. And we'll basically now take a look at that in the custom block as well as the redstone block as well. So we still have the redstone lamp block open, and we can see this has a Boolean property called lit, and that is exactly what this is. So we can save, or we add basically onto our block classes custom properties. Those are called block state properties, and they are then unique for every block state inside of the world. So if I set down 100, redstone lamp blocks, each of the lit properties of each of those block states in the world is all separated from each other. They're individual. They have nothing to do with each other. They're completely independent. Once again, you're going to say, yeah, I understand this implicitly. Hopefully now that I've made it explicit, you're going to say, okay, there's hopefully a point to this, and there is. So let's just see over here to add our new custom block, which is going to be our fluorite lamp block. So in the block custom package, fluorite lamp block over here, this will extend from the block class. We're going to hover over this to create constructor matching super, and then we shall see. The first thing we want to do is add the Boolean property. So this is going to be a public static final Boolean property. We're going to call this one clicked over here equal to Boolean property.create, and the name is also going to be clicked in this case. Highly recommended, control left click or middle mouse button click, and we can see that there are Boolean properties, integer properties, as well as enum properties. And theoretically, you could even make your own custom property as long as it's a comparable. So you just have to implement the comparable interface. And then in theory, you could save almost whatever type of data you want. Just be aware that obviously any sort of custom property that gets super complicated might not work the way that you were sort of intending. And also there's quite a few limitations as when the block state changes, then you also need to do some changes for the blockstate JSON file in theory. Regardless though, what we have is we have sort of three things that we need to do. Every time you add a property to your custom block, right? So if you have a custom or if you have a blockstate property added to your block, you need to call the create blockstate definition method. Super important. And then you want to add to the builder every one of your properties. This is extremely important. If you don't do this, then it's actually not going to work. I'm pretty sure you're going to actually get an error. So like when you try to open the game and if you make a fluoride lamp block, so that's not going to work. We'll also override the use without item method. And we also will set the default state. We can do this in, I think, 2 ways, but in this case, we're just going to call the register default state method inside of the constructor. We're then going to say this.default block state. This is going to get us the current default block state, and we're now going to replace that with a setting of the value of clicked to false. So we're going to say the clicked value is now false. So every time we place down the fluoride lamp block, what's going to happen is that the default value is going to be false, meaning that it's going to be turned off. On the interact without item method, we're going to return an interaction result of success. And then what we're going to do is just format this slightly differently. And then here, it is actually also quite easy. We're going to say level.set and update basically at this particular position. And the state that we want to set this to is state.cycle. And we're going to cycle through the clicked property over here. And I'll explain what that means. So first of all, when we do state.cycle, it basically says, hey, we're going to take the particular property that we have selected right here, and we're going to go through all of the different values that it can take. Now, because clicked is a Boolean property, it can only go to true to false and from false to true, and then it goes around and around, and that's basically all that there is to it. So this basically just makes it so that when it is off, we right-click it, it gets turned on, and if it is on, we right-click it, it gets turned off. Fairly simple, nothing too crazy. Now, the set block and update method, we have to do that because the state itself doesn't actually know where it is. So the state itself does not have a position. This is why you basically always see the block position added in any sort of, right-clicking or any sort of block method as well, because the state doesn't know where it is. But you can basically say, you can get the block state via the level and the block position. And if we want to set a new block state at that position, we can call level.setBlock and update at this particular position. And then we're setting it to this state. So we're changing the block state, or the Boolean property here in this case, of that particular block. And that is actually all that we need to do. I know it sounds crazy, but those are all of the steps that we need in the block class. So now we can register the class as well, or rather the block itself. This is going to be the fluoride lamp over here, fluoride lamp, which of course is going to be a fluoride lamp block. Strength 3 is fine, requires correct tool for drop is okay. And we also want to give it a light level, which if you can take a look at this, this requires a toInt function of type block state. Sounds super complicated, but what it really means is just we have a state right here, and then we get the arrow as a lambda, and we want to return an integer. And in theory, that would be it. This state towards 15 right here, that would immediately make it so that regardless of the state, it is going to shine bright like a diamond, or rather it's going to have a light level of 15. Now that's not quite what we want, because we want it to have 15 when the lamp is turned on and 0 when it's turned off. Luckily, we have access to the state right here, so we can say state.getValue of fluoride lamp block that clicked. And if this is true, then we're going to return 15. And if it is false, we're going to return a 0. So really nice use of the ternary operator over here, as well as just returning basically, because this is already the value over here, because it's a Boolean already, we're just going to basically have that, and it's going to work like that immediately. And that is the fluoride lamp added. Now, do we need anything crazy? Not particularly. There's one more thing that's important in the data gen when we get to that. But in terms of the rest, it's not actually that insane. We're going to add it to the creative mode tab. We're going to add a loot table over here where it's just going to drop itself. Very straightforward. So there we go. It's going to drop itself regardless of the state. You can also, by the way, change the loot tables depending on the state of the block itself as well. That is, for example, done with crops. So if we were to press shift twice, look at the crop block class over here, we can see this has an age integer property called age. And depending on the age, obviously, if it is fully ripe, right? The crop is fully grown, so to speak. Then it is the age of 7, and then you actually harvest more crops, or you can harvest the actual result at all, which is pretty freaking cool. Then in the models, this is where the fun starts. So for the lamp, it's going to look kind of insane, but generally speaking, I'm telling you, it's actually not as crazy as you might think. Now, I'm going to copy this over, and I'm going to then explain basically each line over here, and you'll first of all say, well, this is a lot, but then you'll say, you know what, it's actually not as crazy. Right, so there we have it. Generally speaking, we can see the first 2 lines are just 2 identifiers. So right now, nothing too insane right here. And then what we have is, the first one is the off identifier. This is a normal sort of model that we're creating right here for the fluorite lamp. This is basically almost the same thing as when we make a trivial cube right here. And then we have a suffixed variant where we're also going to have the fluoride lamp. However, we're going to append to the end of it _on right here. And that is the idea of those 2. Then we want to say, listen, now we need a Blockstate JSON file. And this Blockstate JSON file is going to have a Boolean model dispatch, meaning, hey, we're going to have a Blockstate property, which in this case is clicked right here. If it is true, we want to point to the lamp on identifier. And if it is false, we want to point to the lamp off identifier. And that's pretty much the whole idea in this case. Where have I gotten this from? Well, if we were to take a look at, for example, the create a Boolean dispatch method right here, I'm pretty sure we should be able to find somewhere in here the, I mean, this is campfire, but I'm pretty sure we should also find the redstone lamp over here. There we go. And that pretty much does the same thing. It actually makes this a little bit easier. I think that's just, that you can just do that. But fair enough, though. Generally speaking, it's pretty much the same as this. This should work the exact same way. So there's really no issue in this, but yeah, that's what this does. And this just generates the JSON files for us. Pretty neat. The last things, of course, are the translation, which is trivial beyond trivial. And then, of course, the 2 textures, because we're going to have 2 different textures when the lamp is on and when the lamp is off. That's going to be the fluoride _lamp and fluoride _lamp on. They're not that different, but they are slightly different, you know? So it is an on texture, in my opinion, but there we have it. And those are actually all the things that we need for a, quite a simple custom block with one particular property. I highly recommend, once again, you go through some of the different blocks that exist. There are some that are absolutely insane. So we've seen the crazy JSON files already for the block states. For example, the fence block or something like that. That one actually doesn't have any. Oh, it's a cross collision block. There we go. So it has different Boolean properties, and it goes freaking crazy, as you can clearly see. So I do highly recommend you go through some of the vanilla blocks if you're interested in more of the different properties that exist. For the time being, though, let's run the data gen. That's going to generate us the JSON files needed for the fluoride lamp, and then we can jump into the game and see if it works. Alright, fans, we're back in Minecraft, and as you can see, the fluoride lamp has been successfully added to the game, and like we know, this is its own block state, its own block state, so I can turn each of them individually on and off in whatever order I so choose to, and that all works. So that is really cool. Once again, of course, this is just like one example. It is basically the same idea as the redstone lamp, but I do like to add this because, you also get some right-clicking functionality and you get some amount of block state changes and things like that. So I do think that it is still a really freaking cool thing to take a look at. Generally speaking, though, I'm telling you, basically what you need to just know is that each of the different blocks that you see in the world, those are block states, and those are instances. Another sort of corollary that we can use is the item stacks. So there only exists one diamond sword item that is registered, and there also only exists one, there actually is no sword class, but if I were to hit the alpaca over here a couple of times, this one has taken durability damage and the other 2 have not. And once again, you're going to say, yeah, I know this. This is like implicit knowledge once again, because the reason why that works is because each stack is an item stack of a particular item. That's the whole idea, and that is the corollary to the block and the block state. And we're going to take a look at the item stack situation, not 100%, but a little bit in the next time actually, when we talk about data components. Indeed, but that's going to be it for this tutorial right here. Don't forget you get 14 days early access if you join as a Stonebricks member on YouTube, including the aforementioned data components video right here. Hope to see you there. So, yeah.